I jerked awake on the morning of day 2, and I was getting a medical alert window. According to my vitals, despite sitting in the hammock, my pulse told me I was under fire. I looked over and Val's bed was empty. What happened? I was having trouble breathing, and another alert as I came out of the shelter. Val was fine, but I was still on edge. The alerts were still firing, and I felt like I was going to pass out. Val must have realized something was up and rushed over. I still don't even know what she was saying at first, but the first bit that I caught,
Keith, look at me.
She got me to sit down and kept admonishing me to just look at her and breathe, placing my hand over her heart and hers over mine. It took a few minutes, but the alert started to fade.
I'm here. Sorry.
Val wrapped her arm around the back of my neck and pulled my forehead to hers.
There's nothing to be sorry about. Just a panic attack. Everyone's safe. We're good, okay? I'm right here.
I closed my eyes, forcing myself to control my breathing.
It's been a while since I had one of those dreams. I couldn't think at all.
It's okay. We went through a lot yesterday. Just breathe and maybe go wash up. You'll feel better, and I'll have food ready when you get back,
She said and left me nodding in response. I noticed another alert had been buried by the medical alert in my vision. Achievement unlocked. The camp. Apparently having the combination of a proper fire, access to clean water, and the full shelter lasting the night had earned us an advantage. I acknowledged the alert and saw a container, but really I just wanted the alert gone. I'd deal with the box later. Doing as Val told me, I went down to the waterfall and had a very brisk shower. Even getting out of the suit for a bit, I couldn't be arsed to hit privacy mode, so I hope everyone enjoyed getting an eyeful across the galaxy. After that, I checked my nets and discovered 2 more floaters. I took care of those, took the occasion to mark my area again, donned my suit, and went back up. Interestingly, I noted that the water on my skin was quickly drawn out of the suit, so it had some sort of moisture wicking to it. Another time I probably would have been happier with that, but I just needed to get some food in me. As promised, when I got back, Val had breakfast ready, and I had some more of the moonshine, just to steady a bit. It probably wasn't the most advisable for me to use alcohol as medication, but at the same time I didn't exactly have access to my pills. I went over the plan for the day with Val. Even though I'd planned to take it easy, that wasn't really viable right now. I needed to do something to get my mind off things.
First thing, logs. We'll need them. Hardwood for pillars, flooring and railings, then softwood for framing. I also want to keep an eye out for mushrooms, and I'll be taking one of the booklets to take with me.
Val nodded along.
While you're working on that, I'll get more of the bluff cleared up, and we've got some extra fish that I'll smoke.
I filled up my water bottle from the stock pot that now had broth in it, bow and arrows, and I went on the bluff. I also figured I should check along the river for clay. If I could find enough and it was the right type, we'd be able to make a ton of improvements I couldn't have otherwise. Heading out, I began my spiel for the camera.
Sorry, folks. I know I haven't exactly been communicating this morning, but last night's sleep backfired on me. It's just a part of what is called post-traumatic stress disorder. Essentially, it happens when you go through something so horrible. It causes what we call moral injury, something so bad it offends your identity as person. Despite my time in the Army, it's not that, which is what most folks assume. While I certainly saw things I can't unsee, it was losing Kendra and Heather. Pretty sure that was the straw that broke the camel's back, so to speak. So now we're on the hunt for timber, and maybe some mushrooms if I can find them. We'll see what I get. I've got a backpack full of stuff that'll help me out, my container shell to haul lumber, and the smaller one I just got last night in case I see any forage we can use. Now, let's see what we can get done today.
I went into the forest. Using the booklet as I walked, I was able to start identifying a lot of things. One key I would need for my side projects was an Everred that was at least 8 inches thick. I decided to steer along the river first to see if I could find clay. Clay would make all sorts of things we'd need over time, including a safe heating element for our eventual shelter. Unfortunately, there was no clean way to do it, so I just left my clothes, containers, and pack on shore and stepped into the river. I could see the floaters going by in the water, but I generally ignored them this time. We certainly had more than we needed by this point, so no sense in going after them. Instead, I was testing the water to make sure of where I was stepping, then knelt down. The cold of the river didn't exactly feel great as I got to hip level, but it was still a distraction. I was looking for discolored dirt, essentially. Another way to locate clay was by feel, so kneeling down let me get my hands on the river bottom. I was probably looking nearly an hour before I hit it. I found a large river stone on the bank as a mark. I went and retrieved my things and came back. Without a spade or shovel, I'd have to dig the clay out by hand. But before I went whole hog, I would need to see if it has the right kind of clay for my needs. I'd already made that mistake previously, back when I used to work with Grandma and Pop in the woods. Of the four, I was looking for earthenware clay. It more porous, but it was some of the earliest clay used, precisely because it was a low-fire clay, which is what we needed. With it, I could actually make a kiln and oven, both for making food as well as heating, and even making better clay later. The first stuff wouldn't be great, but we didn't need great. We needed functional. From there, we could fire other kinds of clay for floor tiles, pottery, whatever we needed to make. It would also make for at least some sort of mortaring. Again, not necessarily the best, but best in works are different scales. I couldn't go by color here, so I had to go by feel and porousness. The other types of clay were smoother. It only took a minute to realize I had the right of it. It was what I needed. I sat on the shoreline, feet still in the water, laughing triumphantly. I didn't need the clay right now, so I washed off and left it where it was, but made sure to mark it for when I was ready to put it in.
All right, class. Looks like we have access to usable clay. Not exactly the highest quality on in there, but then I don't need quality. I need it works. We'll be able to do all sorts of things with this that'll help, but I won't need it till later. So we're gonna go back on the hunt for lumber and mushrooms.
I went looking into the forest and using the sound of the waterfall to determine direction. As long as I stayed with earshot, I could just navigate back that way. I was looking at a lot of useful logs, but so far, not the 8 inches thick I needed. I would wait to start chopping, since I didn't want to just haul lumber around with me as I kept exploring. Nearing the edge of earshot from the waterfall, I came upon a small clearing, and I did see something there.
Oh my god, it's a jackalope.
There was no other way to see it. It looked like a jackrabbit with antelope horns. Not sure how else to say that one. A creature we fully just made up on Earth was, on this random alien world, a real thing. However, it bore the unfortunate fate of being made of meat and leather, to say nothing of being able to use the antlers for a couple of things. I unshouldered my bow and took slow, steady aim. If it was like earth rabbits, it was fast, and I couldn't take the chance at spooking it as it sat munching on grass. As I locked in my shot, clearing my angle, I made a small cluck with my tongue. Not loud, just soft enough for him to pick up a slight, unfamiliar noise. It stood up on its hind legs and sniffed the air. That's when it got shot. The snap of the bow and the last screech of the jackalope sent 2 other shapes into the air, and before I thought better of it, I was already firing, plucking 2 aliens' birds from the sky before they could break the tree line. An achievement popped. Deadeye. The secondary shots were too risky. I could have just as easily missed and lost both arrows. It was impulsive, and proud as I might be to have made the shots, there was no small amount of luck in that. However, looking at my alert screen, I was once again given the choice of advantages: survival or comfort. Having gotten hammocks already, I couldn't think of any particular comfort needs in the immediate sense, and hit survival. I was once again informed that my selection would be waiting for me at camp. It would be good to test both options. I broke down the jackalope. It read horned hare in the guide, but it's a jackalope, and the birds, which were vaguely reminiscent of grouse. Their feathers on bottom, however, were sky blue, white feathers above that. My God, they would look like tiny clouds seen from distance. Picking them out would be near impossible in the air. I got them tied onto my pack and examined the glade, and I saw it, a mushroom log with berry bushes strewn about, what the grouse and jackalope were feeding off of. I went over the booklet, looking the mushrooms up by picture, where they were just referred to as white mushrooms. By description, though, it seemed like I'd found something close to oyster mushrooms. I quite literally took the whole log. I mean, why do the work to get at the mycelium when I could just take their entire growing medium in one go and deal with it back at camp? The berries, though, weren't fully ripe yet, so that would be another trip. As I was going over it, I then saw something that did give me pause. Paw prints. They were feline prints, but they were the size and depth of a fully grown grizzly bear. I looked it up, and it was listed as giant mountain cat. The Cathril were apparently not that inventive with animal names. It was huge, just like a bear, strong and fast. Unfair fast. I needed out of the area, especially now that I was carrying some of its main food sources on me. Unlike a bear, it wouldn't make loud alerting noises, but like a cat, it wouldn't just attack, it would stalk. I gathered up and started going back toward the falls. There was also another trick. Both bears and big cats on Earth didn't like loud noises and tended to avoid them. I got set up and started chopping to get wood. I hadn't found my secondary, but for now, I at least had some more food for camp, and making a small smoking fire, I could preserve my catch. It would take hours, but then again, so would what I was doing now. The sun was getting up in the sky when I heard the beep from my wrist. The green light was blinking, so I took a seat, got out my broth and pressed it. But this time, it wasn't Annabelle who popped, but Ravage Teak, smiling.
Good day to all of our survivors. Today begins your second day of pre-warp survival. First, let's hear about some updates. The Rothani, miraculously, are still alive, if struggling, and seem to be moving inland away from the most of the other competitors. Meanwhile, the humans have achieved the first fully functional camp and are absolutely racking up the mileage on their hunting. Sadly, however, we have lost another intrepid team of survivors. The Aqualians have been eliminated after illness befell them both along the coast. They, unfortunately, took a chance on some food that did not agree with them. Rest assured, they've been brought back for medical relief and their people will join the Cathril Dominion. May the Emperor reign eternal.
The Migrine, Telesh, and now the Aqualians. They'd been the ones with gills and webbed toes and fingers. It was a hard life, and I looked at the footage of the Rothani. They looked scared, their heads darting about. They were furred creatures, a little bigger than me. One of them, I couldn't tell genders, was holding their arm in a way that indicated injury, a claw mark. And then I saw it, the slightest movement in the backbrush. They were being stalked. Something was hunting them. They were about to be eliminated, and there was precious little they could do. I could just do nothing. We were far enough from most of the teams that we could just build up our camp and supplies. We didn't have to fight. We could just play the long game, let the rest of the teams get eliminated one after the other.
Fuck it.
I broke down my fire, packed up, and made a beeline for camp. Cresting the rise, Val.
Keith, did you...
I let God of the container sledge and grabbed 2 of our smoked fish.
No time right now.
I didn't break stride and went for the switchback. I remembered the place from the screen. We'd passed through it yesterday, and I could follow our own tracks back. I kept my bow and arrows and refilled my bottle. Val.
Where are you going?
To save the Rothani.
Hey everyone, hope you loved the video. Don't forget to give it a thumbs up, hit subscribe for more awesome sci-fi content. You can also support us by hitting the thanks button at the bottom of the video. Your generosity goes a long way. Every bit helps us bring you more stories from the stars. Thanks a bunch.